Good morning and welcome back. Glad to have you with us today for our daily devotion as we continue in Bo Giertz's To Live with Christ. Today on this Friday, the last day of this week, we are continuing our study of John chapter 15 and we are on page 327 in the devotion book. Today the theme really focuses around the fact that the world is hostile not only to Christ, but also to those who are followers of Christ. The world is hostile toward Christianity. This is something that sometimes surprises us. We run into situations in our lives, whether it be at school or at work, where we're surprised when the world is against us. But this is the way it has always been. In fact, in the verses that surround the verse for our devotion, Jesus says this very thing. He tells us that the hostility of the world against himself and against those who follow him is normal, it's natural, and it's something that we should even expect. In John 15, verse 20, Jesus says, "The servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also." Well, this was evidenced in the ministry of Jesus. They did persecute Jesus. They put him to death. He suffered and died because of what he proclaimed to be. Is it any surprise then that the world of today is going to treat those who follow Jesus any differently? Read through the Gospels, the book of Acts in particular. We see that the world continued to persecute those who proclaimed the things that Christ proclaimed. The Apostle Peter, the Apostle John, all of the apostles were thrown into prison. They were put to death because of their Christian witness. Why would we expect that it would be any different with us? The truth is that if we are followers of Jesus, we too will suffer persecution. Now, Giertz has a wonderful example of this in a quotation in his devotion. Right in the middle of our devotion, he says, "The world wants to maintain at any cost the illusion that God is a myth and that we have no reason to worry about his will." If you take a look at the examples that we run into in our daily lives, we can see that myth that needs to be maintained by the world. God doesn't exist. And the reason that God doesn't exist is because if he does, then we are answerable to him. Think about what we run into and how our children are educated in the public school system, and how they are taught that there is no God, that we have all come here by chance. Think about the activist groups in our world today and how we are told that Christian values and truth is contrary to what we desire as human beings. We don't want to be hated as Christians. We don't want to be rejected by the world. And yet, if we are liked by the world, and we like the world in return, then we are not where we should be as followers of Christ. Giertz points out very, very wonderfully in this devotion that this is the way it has to be. This is what has to take place. The world is going to be against Christ and against his followers. But that demonstrates that the message that is being proclaimed is exactly what it should be. If we preach what Christ preached, if we are faithful to what Christ proclaimed and to who he was, the world will hate us just as it hated him. It will persecute us just as it persecuted him. This is the way that it is. But it is Christ who also gives us the strength to endure. And he gives us the understanding that this is what has to take place for us to be faithful to him and to reach those who are in danger of being lost. We proclaim the truth of salvation that is found in Christ and in him alone. May the Lord give us strength to bear witness to that truth in our daily lives until he takes us home.